Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video is going to be the first of my Christmas series, and I'm going to be showing you how to make these really cute beaded, 3D beaded fairy lights or Christmas tree lights that you could make into a bracelet or a necklace or just a Christmas tree decoration. So before we get started, I've got a lot of Christmas videos coming up, so subscribe if you'd like to see more of those. And let's get into it. Okay, so to make one of these you'll need some size 11 black seed beads, or I know some of these fairy lights have like a dark green for this part, so black or green in size 11. And then for the actual light part it's just whatever colour you want to do. I'm doing multicoloured, and you can use size 11 round seed beads or size 11 delicate seed beads, so I'm using these delicate seed beads for this one. So I used delicate beads for this yellow one and round seed beads for the pink one. So there's really not much difference. The pink one's just a bit bigger. And I'm using a silver lined for each one because I just think it makes them shine a bit more like lights. You'll also need your beading thread, and I'm using £6 fire line. It holds the shape really well. And your beading needle. And that's it, so let's get started. Okay, so begin by threading your needle with some thread, and I've cut about one arm's length of thread for one of these. And I'm going to be looking at my phone here because I wrote the instructions for this a while ago and I can't remember how to do it, so apologies if I keep pausing to look at my instructions. And we're going to begin by picking up 3 black beads and threading them onto your needle, and then you're going to slide those down. And you're going to leave 4 or 5 inches, just enough to sew and tie off your thread at the end, and then you're going to sew up through that first bead so that you have this triangle. Now we're going to put 1 black bead between each of those. So pick up 1, you're coming out of this one, go straight into that next bead. Same again, pick up another black one, you're coming out of this one on the top, go down through the next one. And 1 more for this row. Pick up your last one, you're coming out of this one, you're going to go straight into the next one and also step up into that first one we added in this row. So through those 2 there, that way you're ready to add the next row. And pull it tight. So you've got this. And this time we're going to be putting 2 beads between those 3 that we added in that last row. So pick up your first 2, you're coming out of this one here on a corner, skip the one underneath and go through the next one. Pick up 2 more beads. Now we're coming out of this one, skip that one underneath and go through the next one. And the last 2 of this row, pick up your last 2. Now you're coming out of this one here. It's a bit hard to see. You're coming out of this one, you're going to skip that one underneath and go through the next one. Now we've got this. Now as you can see there's nowhere left to go, it's the end of the row, so we need to step up. So you coming out of this bead here, you're going to step up through these 2 that we added at the start of that last row. Through those 2. Pull it tight and you're going to have this. So for this row we're going to be putting 1 bead in the gaps between those groups of 2 and 1 bead right in the middle of those groups of 2 as well. So we're going to add 6 beads in total this row. So pick up your first one, coming out of this group of 2, you're going to skip over the one underneath and go through the next single bead. Okay. Now your thread is coming out between that group of 2 that we added in the last row. So pick up another bead, coming out of this one, go straight down into the next one. So that bead just sits between them. Pick up another one. Now we're going to fill this gap, so you're coming out of this one, skip over the next one and into the bead after that. Pick up another bead. Now we're in between this next group of 2, so you're coming out of this one and you're going to go straight into the next bead. Pick up another bead. You're coming out of this one. You're going to skip the one underneath and go through the next one on the top row. And the last bead of the row, we're between that last group of 2. So we're coming out of this one, pick up your last black bead of this row and go straight into the next bead. And now we're coming out of this one, we need to step up through that bead that's diagonally above it, like that. Okay, and now we've got this, and now we have 6 gaps now to fill. So we've got 6 beads on the top row. So we're going to be adding a bead in between each of those 6 beads that are on the top row. So pick up one. You're coming out of this bead, skip the one underneath and go through the next bead on the top row. Same again, pick up one, you're coming out of this one, skip the one underneath, go through the next bead on the top row. Pick up another one, skip the one underneath, go through the next bead on the top row. Pick up another one, you're coming out of this one, you're going to skip the one underneath, go through the next one. Pick up your next bead, skip the one underneath, go through the next one on the top row. So you do that 6 times. So you pick up your last bead, skip the one underneath, go through the next one, and when you get to the last bead of the row you always need to step up. So I've gone through that bead and up diagonally through the one above it. So then you should have this. Now you're in the same position you were in the row below. You've got 6 single beads on the top and you're going to be putting one in between each of those beads. So you're just picking up a bead and going through the next bead on the top row each time. And in each row there's going to be 6 beads, so if you count 6 then you know you need to step up after you've added all 6 for that row. So we're doing another row here the same. And as always, don't forget to step up at the end of the row. So then pull it tight, and now you've got this. Now what you need to do is continue doing that exact same thing. I do it for 8 more rows. It's up to you how long you want your black casing bit to be, but I do, from now on, from exactly this point, I do 8 more rows of doing that exact same thing, adding 6 beads, one in between each bead on the top row. Don't forget to step up each time, and then once you've got it to the length that you want it, meet me back here and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I've gone ahead and completed 8 more rows, and now I've got this kind of length, and that's where I'm going to stop. So once you've done that, the next thing you need to do is take your needle and just sew through that last row of 6 beads that you added without adding any extra beads. So just sew through all 6 beads which are on the top row, just to bring them together. Pull it tight and it just closes up a little bit. So I've got this. So now you're going to start working with your coloured beads for the light. So this time you're going to pick up 2 of your chosen colour, and you're coming out of this bead here. We're going to skip the next one in the top row and go through the one after that. Okay, so we're coming out of this one, we're skipping that next one there and going through the one after that. And then I'm going to pick up 2 more. Now we're coming out of this one on the top row. We're going to skip that next one, it's hard to see black beads, and go through the one after that. So we're coming out of this one, you're skipping one and going through the next one. And one more time, we're picking up the last 2 of the row, we're coming out of this one, we're going to skip that one, that's really hard to see on the camera. We're going to skip this one, go through the next one. So there we go. And now we're going to step up into the first 2 beads that we added, these 2 purple ones. Now we have this. Picking up 1 purple bead, you're going to go straight through the next 2. Picking up another purple bead, you're going to go through the next 2 beads. And 1 more purple bead, and you're going to go down through these 2. And up into that first one that we just added. Pull it nice and tight. We have this. This time we're picking up 2 again. We're coming out of this one on the corner, skip the 2 underneath, go through the next single bead on the corner. And those 2 that we just added will stack above the 2 on the row below. So pick up 2 more. Coming out of this one on this top corner, skip those 2 underneath and go through the next single bead on the corner. Pick up 2 more. Coming out of this one, you're going to skip those 2 and go through the next one. Now we're at the end of the row, so we need to step up through those first 2 that we added in that last row. Put it tight, and you've got this. So this is another row of adding 1 bead in each corner. So pick up your first bead and go through the next 2 purple beads on the top row. Pick up your next bead, go through the next 2 purple beads on the top row, and pick up your last bead of that row, go through these last 2 beads, and then step up into that first single bead that you just added, and pull it tight as always. Now you've got this. So now we're back to adding a row of 2 beads at a time. So pick up your first 2, go into the next single bead on the corner, pick up your next 2, go into the next single bead on the corner and pick up your last 2 of this row, skip over the 2 underneath, go into the next single bead and then up into those, and then up into those 2, ready to start the next row. So next is another row of adding a single bead in the corner, so pick up 1 bead and go through the next 2 on the top row, pick up your next bead, go through the next 2 on the top row and pick up 1 more bead and go through those last 2 on the top row and then step up into that first single bead that you just added. Basically repeating the same rows, alternating between adding 2 beads and adding 1 bead. And this is where we're up to. So now you can see we're back to the row where we add 2 beads each time. So we're going to add the first 2 into the next bead on the corner, the single bead, 2 and into the next bead on the corner, pick up 2, go into the next, or the last bead on that row, and then step up through the first 2 you added. And now this is going to be the last row of single beads, so pick up 1, same again, just go through the next group of 2, pick up your next single bead and go through the next group of 2, and 1 more, go through the next 2 and up into that 1 you just added. So now we have this, and that's usually as many rows as I'll do for this part as well. Obviously you can keep going and do as many as you want, just alternate between adding 2 beads and 1 bead each time. So instead of adding 2 beads this row, as you would if you were continuing, we're going to pick up 1 bead, skip those 2 underneath and go through the next bead, which is on the corner, the next single bead on the top row, and again pick up 1 and go through the next single bead on the top row, and 1 more. And so we're coming out of here, we're going to skip the 2, go through the next single bead and also step up into that bead we just added at the start of this row, and then pull it really tight. Now you should have this, and you've got, these are the top 3 beads, and you're going to circle through them to bring them together. And you have this. Now just to add the little point on the top, I'm going to pick up 1 bead and I'm coming out of this one on the bottom in this direction. I'm going to go down through this one above it, and then I'm going to move through this one on the bottom, back up into the bead we just added on the top, and down through the bead on the other side that we haven't gone through yet. So that just adds the little point on the top. So this is what it looks like at the minute. Now if you've got enough thread on your tail thread, you can swap your needle over to that. If you haven't got much on your tail thread and you've still got a lot of working thread left, you need to weave your working thread right down to the bottom. But I've just got enough thread on my tail thread to do what I need to do, so I'm going to take my needle off my working thread for now and thread it onto my tail thread. So I've threaded my needle onto my tail thread, so either way, whether you're working with your working thread or your tail thread, you need to be exiting out of one of these 3 beads at the bottom, and you're going to pick up 1 black bead, and you're coming out of this one. I am coming out of this one, and it doesn't matter which way you do this, we're just adding a bead on the bottom. So I'm coming out of this one, I'm going to go up through one of the other beads in that triangle, back up into the bead we just added, and then I'm going to attach it to the final bead in that triangle. And it really doesn't matter which beads you go through in which direction, you're just adding 1 extra bead on the bottom, similarly to how we did at the top. So there's really no specific beads you need to go through, just make sure it's secure and it's not wobbling around, that you've gone through it a few times and attached it to 3 of those bottom beads. Then when you've done that, if you've got enough thread left with your tail thread, and I've got just enough just to show you, you're going to go through that bead that we just added, so we're coming out of that very bottom bead. And so if you want to join them together, like I've done with these ones here, it's up to you how many beads you want to put in between, how spaced out you want them to be. So I've put 12 beads in between each of mine, so you're going to string on however many beads you want, and then so through your next fairy light, through that bottom bead in the next fairy light. Like that. And so that's how you attach them all together. So that's it really now. So now you can just sew back through your piece with your working thread and your tail thread, tie some knots and cut off your threads. Okay, so once you've tied off your threads, then this is what you've got, and then you can go ahead and make as many as you want. You could make them into a bracelet, a necklace. You could even, if you've got the patience, make a whole string of them to string onto your tree for a decoration. I think they're really cute, really fun Christmas decorations. And I think I'm going to make mine into a necklace for Christmas jumper day. So let me know what you make and tag any pictures on Instagram at Beading by Hannah. I always love to see the things that you make from my videos. And follow me there and subscribe here if you want to see more of my videos. Like I said, I've got a lot of Christmas videos coming up. I don't know if I'm going to fit them all in, but I'll show you a few that I've been working on. I've got this little cute 3D beaded Santa. These 3D holly leaves, which I'm going to make into a Christmas tree decoration. Some little acorns. And this really cute beaded wreath, which is also going to be a Christmas tree decoration. So there's just some that I've been working on, and I'm hoping to get them all filmed, but we'll see. I'll definitely get some of them up before Christmas, and the others will be saved for next year if not. But subscribe to stay in touch and keep up to date with what videos I'm uploading, and comment down below what else you'd like to see from me, and like this video if you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.